Hello, everybody. Welcome to quick edition of Buddha Talks Hoops. I'm Nathan. Today's a solo talk. Just getting some thoughts out there. Haven't chatted in a while, so I figured just get a little AM Hoops talk in. So Selection Sunday was yesterday. Got some thoughts on the tournament, and then maybe a couple NBA thoughts I can sprinkle in there. So today I'm rocking my Virginia National Championship shirt back from the 2019 tournament. I had a little bit of a connection with that team. I don't know. I just felt like riding them, so I picked them to win it all. I even put a little bit of cheese on a few of those games. Just it was a fun team to watch. I liked the emotional elements of that squad because they lose the year before to the 16 seed UMBC, and then they come back, have a really good season, and end up winning the title. And it was a fun team to watch. They played super slow. And I typically like faster paced teams, but they played smart and they shared the ball, unselfish team, and a lot of just really talented players as well. Ty Jerome, who's become a very solid NBA player. Kyle Guy didn't quite break into the NBA fold, but was a really good college player. Diakite down low, and then legendary coach Tony Bennett. Then DeAndre Hunter as well, actually, obviously. Number 4 overall pick. So, yeah, rocking Virginia. Virginia in the tournament again. They've come back after a little bit of a slump. All right. So, bracket comes out. Full disclosure, not a huge college hoops guy throughout most of the season, but when tournament time kicks in, I watch a good amount of it, and I get a little bit into it going into the tournament, watching some of the conference tournament games. So, not the same in-depth analysis I can give as the NBA teams, but there's some teams and players that I'm looking forward to watching, and a lot of them are through an NBA lens where I'm looking at players that are going to be next year's top picks. And this year we are in for a little bit of a treat compared to last year, where a lot of the best players in this upcoming draft are playing in the tournament, and that was not the case last year. Obviously, we had Cooper Flagg playing; he was great. Conklin on that team as well. But then you look at the number 2 pick, and that was Dylan Harper. His Rutgers team, sadly, was not able to give us the New Jersey love in the tournament that we would have liked. Same with Ace Bailey, obviously. They're on the same squad. VJ Edgecombe, they made the tournament, I believe, but I think they were one and done. So just it wasn't the same kind of top-level talent on those top teams. I mean, just for example, the Florida-Houston championship, Walter Clayton, he's drafted, but wasn't a super blue-chip player, and right now hasn't had too much of a splash this rookie season. And Will Richard, actually, I guess, ends up being one of the better players from last year's tournaments. And then they play Houston, again, not a team that really created too many high-level picks. LJ Cryer was playing last night, actually, against the Knicks. That was okay. We don't have to talk about that game. Knicks pulled it out. Okay, so let's talk about the tournament a little bit. Just going to go through and not even really make picks, but just say some teams and some players that I'm excited to watch. So we'll start with the team that gets named the number 1 overall seed in the tournament, and that is Duke. So haven't watched a lot of Duke this year. I know they're a little banged up right now, so that's a little bit of a bummer. Their guard Foster, I think he had like a broken hand or something, broken foot. I don't know. They said he might be back for the championship weekend, Final Four. I'm not so sure about that. I believe they also have somebody in their front court hurt. But I'm looking forward to watching Cam Boozer because he's an interesting prospect. And as I said, I haven't watched a ton of college hoops, but I've seen enough of Cam Boozer to get an idea of what we're working with. I'm trying to kind of put my finger on who he is as a prospect. It's tough to say. You think he's a little bit of a tweener just when you see the measurements. He's kind of in that little small for traditional center, but not quite the same speed that you would want from a wing. But he's 6'9", seems super coordinated, super fluid. It seems like he has a really good just feel for the game overall, and he's scoring over 20 a game. And anytime you can do that at the D1 level as a freshman, you got to turn your attention to what they're doing, no matter what the measurements might say. So I'm gonna get a good look at him this tournament, hopefully, and see what that combination of scoring, court feel. I'm interested to see what kind of defensive player he is, especially maybe when they get to some of the later rounds against some of the better teams. Okay. In the same region, Darren Peterson in Kansas. It's been a strange year. There's been times where Darren Peterson has looked like he should be the no debate number one pick. I mean, he's 6'6", with court feel, with scoring instinct. You just don't see guys like that too often. On the comp would maybe be an Anthony Edwards type with not quite the same athletic burst. I mean, Anthony Edwards is A plus plus athlete. Peterson's probably just an A, but probably more even of the natural feel, natural handling ability, decision making than Edwards. So it's a trade off. But obviously, the storyline with him has been the cramping and the possible concerns of how really committed he is to this Kansas team. Is he just using this as a little bit of a buffer to just try to get to the NBA and make it out alive? And listen, I understand some of that mentality, and people have comped him to like what happened with Ben Simmons at LSU. I don't see it the same way, because to me, the Ben Simmons thing, it played out later in his career. He just had an issue challenging himself as a basketball player. And I don't see that with Peterson. I think Peterson's going to be fully locked in when he gets to the NBA. Is it a little bit of a red flag that he's possibly not all the way bought in? Yeah, I could see why it would be. But he wouldn't be the first amazing basketball player for effort and energy to sometimes wax and wane. That just kind of goes with the territory sometimes with these super talented players, and he's, 19 years old. Hopefully he goes pretty hard this tournament, and I'm expecting him to. It's the tournament. If he's got that competitive fire, which I think he does, he should be ready to go. I mean, this Kansas team has questions. Offensively, it can look like a little bit of a slog, and sometimes it doesn't seem like they have a whole lot outside of Peterson. But they have an athletic squad. They play good defense, and they could be set up for a second-round matchup with St. John's if St. John's gets past Northern Iowa, which I think they should. That would be a fun matchup, Pitino versus Self. I do appreciate the college coaching vibe that exists, especially when it comes to March Madness. NBA doesn't quite have that, where the coaches are just characters in themselves, and I have a good time watching Pitino and Self, and I mean, don't get me started with Dan Hurley. He crosses the line, but I enjoy watching those guys, and I enjoy the rivalry element of it. But St. John's, Kansas would be a good test, and I'd really be looking forward to that game opening weekend. I mean, that game would be this upcoming weekend if it were to play out where Kansas St. John's don't get majorly upset. And that would be a fun game for the Peterson hive, and to see what he's going to do in that environment, because St. John's is coming with full force defense. They're a physical team. They don't have NBA skill, but they have some NBA size, especially on that perimeter. Guys like Bryce Hopkins and obviously Ejiofor down low. They bring a lot of physicality to the game, and it would be a really fun matchup, I think. And hopefully Peterson can rise to the occasion and put a good game out against a high-level defense. So yeah, that's like UConn is also in that region. Honestly, I haven't had the most fun watching UConn this season. Just it seems like they have offensive skill, but it's not the same kind of burst that I've seen in prior seasons. But I like watching Danny Hurley. He's a funny character, another New Jersey guy. So I'm interested to see how they do in this region. Michigan State's there. Don't have a ton for Michigan State. Yeah. In that region, I'm most looking forward to Duke and Kansas. Going down a little bit, Florida, defending national champions. They have a fun backcourt with Xavier Lee and Boogie Flam, but they're mostly anchored by the front court. Team that, under the radar, I'm looking forward to, Iowa, Bennett Sturts. Again, a lot of NBA lens stuff, but Bennett Sturts is projected as a top 15-ish pick, and he is my kind of player where he just plays super calm, and I think he could play in a more up-tempo style offense. I think he has the skill to, but this team does not play fast because it's pretty crazy to watch. Iowa, I've actually, funny enough, watched more games of than a lot of the top teams. I don't know why. Again, I think I kind of gravitate towards Bennett Sturts, and then that whole story where the team is potentially from Drake, Bennett Sturts coming from Drake, coach comes over from Drake as well. and they just kind of create this whole new program. And Ben Sturtz, yeah, he's, as I said, an NBA talent. And right now, they run a legitimate heliocentric offense that you would see with like James Harden and the 2018 Rockets. It's pretty ridiculous to watch. They slow that game down every time they get the ball, set up Bennett Sturtz at the top. I would love to see a number of how many dribbles Bennett Sturtz takes in a game. It's really high because they set the offense up, he dribbles around top, and then it's just pick and roll, pick and roll, pick and roll, space the ball, C2, get off it, get it back. But he makes passes because he's a super talented player. He's good enough to play that style. Very, very high level shooter. Has size. I think he's like 6'5", 6'6". So he's got NBA skill. He actually kind of reminds me of Ty Jerome in certain ways. Yeah, they're definitely good enough to beat Clemson. I don't think an offense like that is going too far in the tournament. I would be pretty shocked if they didn't beat Florida in the second game. But Iowa-Clemson could be a fun game. All right. Going down a little bit, Fred Hoiberg, he's coaching Nebraska. That's funny. North Carolina would have been a little bit more fun if Caleb Wilson was healthy. Kind of takes the air out of the balloon with that team. So might actually take VCU in that game. Illinois-Penn. I would say it should have some upside to be fun, but Penn wasn't even the best team wire to wire in the Ivy, so it's hard to. I mean, this is a really big spread, 24.5. For those are the kind of spreads. I mean, Houston, Idaho is the same spread, and that's a 215. Usually, you see a little bit of a point decrease when it goes to the 14 line, but yeah, Penn. I mean, they had that crazy game yesterday. I watched actually some of their semifinal game against Harvard, but a lot going on in that game yesterday against Yale. Mostly TJ Power scoring 44, guy that came from Duke. Then he was at another school as well, which is escaping right now. I'm trying to just do this off the cuff. Yes, so TJ Power 44, and they get a date with Illinois. Penn, pretty funny because we just talked about Iowa. Their head coach, Fran McCaffrey, who if you've been in the March Madness game for a little bit, McCaffrey's a mainstay with Iowa. His kids went to Iowa, and he goes to Penn. I believe that's his alma mater, and gets determined in the first year. And he's going against a loaded Illinois team that definitely has NBA talent. Keaton Wagler, I believe. Hope it's not maybe Wagler. Keaton Wagler. He's been making waves this year. He has at least one 40-point game, a few others. I haven't watched a ton of Illinois, but he's definitely intriguing. A little bit of the Bennett Sturtz vibe, but less of a ball handler. Definitely more of an athlete where has size, can shoot the ball from the outside, off the dribble shooter as well. Just has the NBA prototype. I'm interested to see how he does in this tournament. Don't have much of a profile on how he is defensively, so I'll definitely have my eye on him watching some of these games. And they could get a matchup with Houston in the 2-3 possibly, which, again, really good test if he gets there because Houston, they bring the physicality. And another team with an NBA prospect in Kingston Fleming. As I said, just the freshman class, when people have called the best freshman class, I don't know. But, yeah. Houston, I always like Houston in the tournament. Maybe I'll pick them again this year because it seems like they're due. They just had good teams for so long. They miss that interior presence a little bit. And this is a team where, from my viewing experience, it seems like they actually struggle more in defense sometimes, whereas Houston's usually known as a defense first team. This squad seems a little bit different. So, yeah, some good matchups there. Arizona, they've been playing really good basketball all year, it seems, blowing people out, beating really good teams. Big 12, one of the that and the SEC, I would say, are clearly the two best conferences. So to kind of dominate that conference in to some extent, not as if they're running away with it. They won the conference championship by, I believe, 5, but still, just kind of showing that they were clearly a cut above. Haven't watched a ton of them. Braden Burries, I know, is one of their top prospects. I will keep my eye on Arizona this region for sure. And Arkansas, Darius Acuff has to be discussed because he's definitely been the biggest riser as an NBA prospect. And I can't lie, Arkansas, I may have watched more than any team. I have a little bit of a obsession with the character of Calipari. And it's not even because I think he's an amazing coach. He's had a lot of bad tournament losses. I mean, last year was last year they made the Sweet 16 with Arkansas, but then ended up having another bad loss where they kind of blow it. I believe that was Texas Tech, but made this Sweet 16, so can't overall get mad at that. But then his last year in Kentucky, lose to Oakland. I believe that was 215, 314 maybe. He's had a few of those, but he has a national title with Kentucky, so it's not like he's never done it. And he clearly can create relationships with players, and that's his main thing. And he likes getting a certain kind of player, and Darius Acuff is that guy. He plays the whole game, typically, for this team, and people are talking about him as a possible top 5 pick. I've heard some even say top 3, and I could see why, because he's scoring at a level that is hard to deny would translate. He's off the dribble shooter. He has physicality. He has speed. In terms of his size, it will be challenged a little bit. I think he's 6'1", 6'2". Let me just double check that. I know I'm not trying to look up too much. So when they list him at 6'3". Might be a little bit generous, but 6'3", but enough size for sure. And he has such a tight handle, such a great first step that even if he's going to get, he's not Jalen Brunson, the kind of player, but just think about how Jalen Brunson can get his shots off against bigger defenders. A lot of it is his physicality, which isn't quite Acuff's game. Acuff's more of a speed guy. Brunson has speed as well, but, I think Acuff a little bit more of the driving style of like a De'Aaron Fox, where he's trying to get downhill and get to the rim. But he can shoot off the dribble for sure, and he has such a tight handle and such a quick first step that he doesn't really mind getting to a step back, getting to a side step, because he's confident he can get that space. And he has a good court feel as well. He's averaging, I think, 6 to 7 assists. This most recent game, I believe it was 30 and 11 in the SEC championship. So he can play point guard as well. Seems to be really composed out there. I've had a lot of fun watching him. And that Arkansas team, they've been playing fun basketball, and they're super athletic. Trevon Brazil, I believe, is a player that could maybe make some NBA noise. He kind of has that mold that teams are looking at, where you're tall, you play the right way for the most part, don't overextend yourself, and you're making strides as an offensive player as well. Defensively, switchable, obviously, with his size. I think he's 6'10". I know I'm putting a little bit more effort into Arkansas. Yep, 6'10". So a lot going on with that team, and that's a team that would be. They play Wisconsin possibly in the second round. I know I'm not really talking about a lot of these lower seeds, but sorry, I don't know much about Hawaii. Got to be real. So, but yeah, Arkansas, Wisconsin. I've watched some Wisconsin. Not honestly too excited by them, but they could definitely beat Arkansas. I'm not trying to make it out like Arkansas is a great team that will be Final Four bound. But if they were to make it to the 1, Arizona, Arkansas, I'd be looking forward to that matchup in Sweet 16. That would be a lot of fun. Okay, BYU, the Richie Saunders injury was a bummer because I liked watching this team earlier in the season, and Saunders, I thought actually had some NBA potential, as maybe a back-end first-round guy, has size, shoots the ball like just about anybody in the country can, and has some off-the-dribble game as well. I just felt like he was an NBA-type player. Still could be, hopefully. Hopefully we get a nice career out of Richie Saunders. Not sure. But he tore his ACL earlier in the year, and that kind of took the wind out of my sails for the BYU train, because I don't think they have enough without him. They were always kind of built on their offense with Robert Wright as well playing point. Don't really have the infrastructure to lean into a defensive model, in my opinion. So unfortunately, don't think I'll be taking BYU to go too far, but AJ Demancey is still worth the price of admission. He's up there with Boozer and Peterson. That's been the conversation all year. And Demancey, I have had a lot of fun watching. Definitely tune in BYU games when I can to get a look at him, and fits the billing where he is getting to the rim and creating space against these Division I guys, and he's 19 years old, has the physical profile, has a good amount of the court feel. I think the one thing that's interesting with him that people might miscast him as is he's actually more of a horizontal fluidity athlete than like a vertical athlete. I saw an interesting stat where he doesn't have a ton of dunks this year, but he gets to the foul line a lot because he can create space and he has great body control. A little Jaylen Brownie in that way. I think Jaylen Brown has more vertical ability than he does. But he also, again, might have more natural scoring instinct because Jaylen Brown wasn't doing this freshman year. If he turns to Jaylen Brown, I think that's worth the top 3 pick. Don't get me wrong at all. So, yeah, I've had a lot of fun watching DeBonsa. They would be set up with Gonzaga in the next game if Gonzaga gets there. Maybe I'll take BYU in that game because I haven't loved Gonzaga either. I've tuned into a decent amount of them. They have Graham Ike. They run their offense through him a lot. They don't seem too varied in their offensive attack. So, I don't know. We'll see. And the 2 seed in that bracket is Purdue. Yeah, I do not like this region a ton, honestly. Might be forced to take Arizona. I've liked Purdue in the past, but again, I don't think this is a Purdue team that has too much of a varied attack offensively. Braden Smith's playing really well. He's a good ball control point guard that can shoot the ball for sure. Yeah, that's all for that region. Sorry, not too much to say about Miami or Missouri. Michigan at the 1 in this final region. Yeah, this is the last one. They've been a load all year, and every time I watch them, they do seem pretty imposing. But then they lose this game to Purdue, and you remember things can happen in the tournament. None of these teams are too dominant, but Michigan's played great all season. A little bit of NBA intrigue with Yaxel Landeborg, I believe. Yes, that's Yaxel Landeborg. I've kind of look at him. It seems like there's definitely some upside with the size and the fluidity. Scoring instinct. I don't know how much he's averaging, honestly. I could get a quick look at that. 14 and a half. So, pretty good. A little bit older than some of the other guys. He's actually 23. He's been bouncing around a few schools. But Michigan definitely has been imposing. And Dusty May at the helm, Florida Atlantic coach. I've always liked his vibe. So, that's the top seed in that region. Texas Tech, tough break with them losing JT Toppin. Alabama's the 4 in this region. Can score the ball at high clips. LeBaron Philon. Remember him? He could be an NBA guy. And then we have Virginia. Iowa State playing great ball this year as well. They have a decent amount of physicality. Haven't watched a ton of them. So those are just some NCAA thoughts. If you want my pick, I'm going to take Houston and win it all. Why not? But yeah, get it. Looking forward to watching some of these games. And as I said, there's some good matchups that I'm particularly looking forward to. Favorite first round matchup? Maybe I'll just try to name that because we're talking before the first round starts in a couple days. If I could only watch one first round game, what game would it be? So you want to pick a game that should be close. Screw it. Give me Iowa, Clemson. I'll feast on some Bennett Sturts. So that's the tournament thoughts. In terms of NBA, I think these are the true dog days of the NBA where we are really just looking forward to the playoffs and even the play-in at this point. I think we'll have some good play-in matchups because we seem to have most of an idea of what we're looking for the rest of the postseason. But there's a few things to watch out for the rest of the regular season. So in terms of storylines, the rest of the regular season, we got a month left, essentially. And the tournament, I'm not going to lie, I kind of get my focus on the tournament for a little bit, watch a different kind of basketball. It's one-and-done basketball with still a lot of high-level players. So it's a good NBA breather for me, but I still watch the games, obviously. Still got to tune into the Knicks when I can and follow what's happening. So storylines right now that I would think you should focus on from now until the play-in starts for about a month. I look at the Sixers, and what a strange season for them because there was a time we thought maybe they could be a top 6 team, but at this point it's like, are they even going to make the playoffs, especially with the way their health is going? Embiid's been out a while at this point. I shouldn't say a while. He's had a better season, I guess, than some expectations could say. But right now, he's not playing. So whenever he's not playing, there's a question of what he's going to look like when he does come back. It's no bleak. Everybody's expecting him back soon-ish, before the play-in at least. You have this Tyrese Maxey injury, a little freak injury to the pinky, so he's out right now. At this point, I guess the Sixers, they're just going to be a playing team, probably. I mean, they have won two straight, but they'll probably be a playing team, and then it's what happens from there. If they miss the playoffs, then it's kind of a disaster. But I guess it's relative to expectations. So Sixers, interesting storyline to watch. He's playing in general, because we have the Magic to the Hornets. That's 5 games in between all of them, and that's the 5 to the 10. I guess 5 games is a decent amount. It's probably better to say Magic to the Sixers. Yes, that's the 8 to the 5, and that's separated by 2 games. So could definitely see some mixing and matching there. Eliminated teams: Nets, Wizards, and Pacers. Bulls and Bucks, please hurry up to be eliminated. In the West, it's been interesting in the West in that little middle conference clump of Lakers, Rockets, Nuggets, Wolves, where week to week you trust them and then just lose all faith in everything they stand for days later. You want to trust the Nuggets, but they can't get a grip on defense. The Lakers are suddenly surging. Right now, the Thunder and Spurs have separated themselves as probably the clear-cut 2 best teams in the West. But I think also my takeaways right now, I think we're going to have some closer series than we predict. And I think even last year taught us that to an extent, where people will look back at that Pacers team a certain way, but there's a lot of people not giving them a shot in the world against Cleveland. They win that series by in 5 games. And then even going into the finals, a lot of people were saying this is going 5. Some people even maybe saying sweep between the Thunder and Pacers. And yeah, it ends terribly, but you go to 7 games, that's a tight series. And they won a couple of those games pretty handily. Mainly, I believe it was game 6, where they won that pretty handily in Indiana. So I don't think any of these teams are as dominant as people might think they are, but I'd say still people would understand what I'm saying. I'm not saying I'm solving current cancer here with this take, but yeah, I think a lot of these teams are pretty close, and we should get some really fun first round matchups. West playing Warriors, it's just I can't even talk about them. Clippers surging, but it seems that they get another injury every week. It's all I don't know. The karma gods are not being kind to them. Maybe it's because of Aspire. Can't say for sure. The Niederhauser injury, that's one that just only a certain group of people will know about. But it's actually big because he was playing. Johann Niederhauser. He has his full name is Yannick. I'm sorry, I said Johann. Yannick Conan Niederhauser. Yeah, I think everybody just calls him Niederhauser. That's too much, but. Rookie from Penn State, and they were really liking him. He was giving them an element that they needed, because the one thing this Clippers team, I think, has missed the last few seasons is that physical, vertical presence, where somebody to help on the boards, somebody to help on the backline defense, just to give this ISO old man unk team a little bit of juice. And they've gotten that from certain guys this season, but getting it from a center is big. And Niederhauser was playing well. Niederhauser, sorry. He was playing well, giving them a rim presence, blocking crazy shots, and 6'11". They were really. I think he was going to be a part of their playoff plan. Unfortunately, foot surgery, I believe, out for the year. So that's Clippers things. Hopefully he's back healthy for next season, because I do think he's actually a piece for them. And they're regardless of how this season ends, they're happy with what he gave. So yeah. In the West, only the Kings eliminated somehow. Jazz, Pelicans, Mavs, Grizzlies. Yes. Can we just put the eliminated next to them? Because you might as well. All right, guys. Well, those are just some NCAA thoughts, NBA thoughts. Just wanted to get it out there. Looking forward to the tournament, and I'll see you guys next time. Later.